Hello. Right. Red. Okay, so we will kick off here with the pledge of allegiance. Okay, on to roll call.
Chair Weaver,
Present.
Vice Chair Gar,
Here.
Commissioner Apfel,
Present.
Commissioner Ganerko.
Here.
And Commissioner Tauber is noted absent.
Are there any changes to the agenda for tonight?
There are no changes to the agenda. However, you have two desk items, both for item number 2, and that will be presented by Sarah Philippe.
Perfect. And public communications. So if there are any persons, I don't know if there are folks on Zoom, the small audience in today, but if there are anyone wishing to address the commission on matters not on the posted agenda, you may do so now. Anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
All right, we will quickly roll forward then. Okay, consent calendar. So we are kicking off with the first one, which is the approval of the July 16th, 2025 minutes. Are there any comments on the minutes that folks have before we move to approve?
I have no comments.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve comments from, the minutes from which date?
From July 16, 2025.
July 15th, 2025.
I'll second.
Chair Weaver,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gar,
Yes.
Commissioner Apfel,
Yes.
Commissioner Ganerko.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll move on to the main topic of the night, which is the public hearing for 3100 Woodside Road. Presentation consideration of a proposal requiring formal design review. So with that, I would kick off, I believe, with the staff report.
Can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. So I will be introducing the project at 3100 Woodside Road. The project includes demolishing an existing residence and attached garage, as well as converting an existing ADU into a pool house, retaining an existing ADU and detached garage, as well as constructing a new main residence, a detached garage, detached ADU, greenhouse, gym, and other site improvements. The property is 3 acres. It's in the RR zoning district. It's located on Woodside Road, adjacent to Kenyatta Corners. The new main residence will be located in the same general location as the existing residence to be removed. So that's this kind of general area here on the screen. And there will be a detached 4-car garage here. A detached ADU, and that's this structure here on the bottom of the page, as well as a gym, and then this structure here in the middle is the greenhouse. The greenhouse is more than 250 square feet, which does require a conditional use permit. The other structures, the other accessory structures on site will remain, which do include an ADU here, a detached garage here in the front towards the road, and this structure over here, which is an ADU, which will be converted to just a pool house. There's also some other structures on site, including some sheds, a trellis, and a swimming pool, which will remain. The existing driveway will remain in its current location with some adjustments to provide for an auto court and a fire truck turnaround, as well as some guest parking. The applicant does intend to remove 12 trees, which almost all of them are considered significant. It's these trees that are kind of highlighted in pink. They're either within the area of proposed development. So you see there's 3 trees here that are kind of like right in where they're proposing their main residence. And then these additional trees that are marked for removal that are indicated to be in poor health according to their arborist report. So the main residence will be approximately 28.5 feet at its highest point. It's a modest one-story home with, it's a one-story home with a modest two-story. And then the accessory structures are all within the allowable floor area and maximum height limits. The main residence and ADU design will be similar in style and materials, and they'll be matching what's existing on site today. And the materials include, sorry, let me go to the sheet. So materials include natural stone veneer siding and barrel tile roofs. That's for the main residence and ADU. And then the detached garage and gym will be vertical board and batten wood siding with the corrugated metal roofs. And then the greenhouse will have a stone veneer base with all like glass walls and roof. And as I mentioned before, the greenhouse does require a conditional use permit if it's more than 250 square feet, and this one is proposed at 336 square feet. And so the ASRB completed the conceptual review, the conceptual design review, and was supportive of the design. The ASRB commended the applicant for citing the proposed development in a similar location as the existing structures, as well as for minimizing the site disturbance and using colors and materials that are consistent with the structures that are to remain. The ASRB did not make any recommendations for project changes and recommended the applicant work with staff for formal design review. So the action before Planning Commission today is for the formal design review as well as the conditional use permit for the greenhouse. Staff has recommended findings and conditions of approval in the draft resolution, which is included in your packet as attachment Roman numeral 1. And there are 2 desk items for the project. The first being a historic report from the town historian. So when buildings are more than 50 years old and proposed for demolition, a historic analysis is required to determine if there's any historic significance. And so the historian concluded that there is no historic significance for the property or for any of the structures proposed for demolition. And the second desk item is from the applicant, and it's meant to support kind of the design and intent for the proposed greenhouse, and the images provided are inspirational images. The applicant is present and available for any questions, but that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Sure, I have some questions. I'm specifically asking about the standards for the conditional use permit. As I read it, the language was insofar as is practical. Can you walk us through that and put on the record what that standard means? Because I was a little bit confused.
Is that in the resolution?
Yeah,
Let me pull it up.
sorry to spring it on you.
That's okay.
I'm just trying to determine like how we're supposed to consider it, other than the reasons why, which we'll ask the applicant or the applicant's rep. I just want to understand what the burden is, like who has the burden of proof. Are we supposed to assume that it is practical, or are we supposed to assume it's impractical? And I'm just trying to figure out how I'm supposed to analyze the project.
Can you point to which finding you're talking about, just so I can read it? Do you have it?
I don't have it in front of me. So
Oh.
I just took the note when I was looking through the report. Well, it was insofar as practical, we're supposed to approve it, or as long as the standard is if the exceeding the square foot limitation was practical, that, as I read it, as I read the report, that's what I thought was the controlling standard, but I could be wrong. Or am I totally off the reservation and reading like the wrong part of the resolution?
So I'm looking at the findings, the necessary findings for
Yeah.
approval for conditional use permit. The first one talks about location is necessary or desirable to provide a facility or service. The proposed use at the particular location will be consistent with the intent, purpose, and objectives of the chapter and general plan. Will not be detrimental to health, safety, or general welfare. The proposed use is adequate in size, shape, and topography. Can be served by roads of adequate width. And then the last one says adequate utilities and other services.
So if I was reading the wrong standard, that's my apologies and my mistake. I guess my next question is, what is the standard of review on size? Like, it's not proximity to lot lines, right? Like, I'm just trying to understand how I'm supposed to think about it, other than it seems perfectly reasonable. I just don't know what the standard is to make a finding.
The code requires a conditional use permit for greenhouses over 250 square feet. Take a guess at why that was in the code some years ago. Maybe larger greenhouses, especially if they're hot houses, could have the potential more light emission at night. And so looking at those in kind of relationship to its size, proximity, impacts to neighbors, that would be kind of maybe why the conditional use permit is required. And so just looking at the findings to determine if it can meet those findings, really, essentially, will the greenhouse pose any significant impacts to neighboring properties or as viewed from the roadway?
Got it. Okay, thanks. And I'm sorry for the scramble. My mistake. Oh yeah, well, on the overall project, which I don't know that we're deciding everything, but does the detached garage, is that considered an ADU or is that considered a standalone structure?
The detached garage is not an ADU, it's just a garage.
Okay.
The ADU is a different structure.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions.
So there was a point raised regarding lighting. So is there going to be lighting at night for this greenhouse?
We can let the applicant speak to it, but from what I can tell in the plans, I don't see any lighting proposed.
I'm sorry?
I don't see any lighting proposed in the greenhouse on the plan, but perhaps the applicant can speak to that when it's his turn.
When it's his turn. So I'd reserve any further questions after applicant, elaborates a little bit more on the project.
Questions I have are, I think the greenhouse, I also interested in the lighting and how that will be. I mean, it is in the center of the project, so that's a good thing. But I think the two questions I have, and maybe ASRB talked about this, or it might be better for the second part, but the first piece is just on siding materials in terms of the town's position on sort of exposed wood at this point in terms of fire resistance. Is thing one. And then thing two is just with respect to the trees. The arborist reports, I've often seen arborists come back with vastly different reports depending on who they're working for. I'm just interested, has the town of Woodside looked at these 12 trees? Does it have a perspective on the health of them? And also did ASRB opine on that at all? It looks like 3 of the ones that are in the house area are in good health and in good form as well. Those are trees 69, 70, and 71. And I'm just curious, it might be a question for Adam later, is on a large site like this with an existing house, why not build around the heritage trees rather than take them out? Doesn't seem like the most respectful of nature potentially. So I'm interested in the perspective there.
With regard to the siding, it does have to meet a certain building type assembly, so it's usually the materials below the immediate siding. The architect probably has more knowledge, but this has gone through the fire district. They do review that for all the materials. My understanding, it primarily due to the type of assembly underneath the siding is the main requirement that they focus on.
Okay. Anything on the trees and Woodside's perspective there?
Yeah, the trees that are proposed for removal were indicated in the arborist report that they're in poor health. So
Well,
that's,
sorry, the ones I was asking about specifically, 69, 70, 71, which are in good health and being taken out because of the siting of the residents.
yeah, and it wasn't something that came up with ASRB. I think they understood that those trees would come out due to where they're siting the residents. And I think maybe Adam can speak to why they decided to site the residents in that location, but it wasn't something that ASRB was particularly concerned with.
I'm sorry, Chair Weaver, I skipped you, given that you're digital. I apologize. Did you have questions?
I did not have any questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So regarding the trees, how many heritage trees are on the site right now? I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the drawing that you are.
Very blurry. I'm trying to read it the best I can. Maybe.
Not all the 12 heritage trees, some are sick also, right?
Well, it said, I guess it says protected tree. I'm not sure what the heritage versus protected.
Significant tree.
So our code defines them as significant tree based on a certain size and type of tree.
Okay, and then protected tree on the arborist report would be equivalent to a significant tree.
Correct.
I see one, sorry, some subset of those 91 it shows as not being, really maybe 10 calling it
10 are
not protected.
not protected.
It looks like 10 out of the 91.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
None from me.
Okay, I believe we move to the applicant presentation.
Is this on? Yeah. Hi there. My name's Adam Biddle. I'm the architect for the project. Nice to be in front of you again. And I'll go through some of your questions I'm sure you have on this. But just as a background, kind of this whole process, do appreciate planning for kind of setting it up. The whole idea was to minimize the amount of time story poles are up. So we went through a conceptual ASRB, even though we provided pretty much a formal submittal package. And then we came back 2 weeks ago for a consent item with the story poles up. That way we could sequence the planning commission for the greenhouse. So that was Sage's brilliant idea that I think was a good one. So that's how we got in front of you. To the greenhouse specifically, we're a little bit over the 250. I believe the 250 is probably to prevent commercialization or, large scale would be my guess. One of the reasons with this project I saw in the narrative is we're using it as a focal kind of entry element. This is specific to the owners. They've lived there for over a decade. Avid gardeners. If you did visit the site, you can see on the lower level, cooking farm to table. That's just their style of living. So the idea here was they want to be able to bring guests when they arrive and actually bring them through this greenhouse on arrival. And so there will be a little more circulation. It's not going to be entirely just plantings, so kind of like the imagery you see here. There's that stone element at the base that takes up a little bit of area, and there's going to be a little more circulation to be able to bring those guests through. That's how we're about 75, 80 square feet over the 250. So scaled wise, it is centralized. It's pretty hidden from Woodside Road just based on topography and the garage and the angle. So it really is meant to be kind of this hidden jewel that once you get up to the top of the driveway and you go through that kind of half wall entry, then it's kind of, that's your wow feature. The main house is secondary and kind of tucked behind it. So yeah, a little unique one, probably a first for me, but I think it's a fun idea and it plays to how the rest of the site is being used. To the tree question, the 3 that are proposed for removal, one of them is suggested in the report in poor health and should be removed. I believe I have it here as number 70. 69 is a 9.9 inch oak. It's a small one, and 71 is 14 inches. So these are not massively, even though they're significant, they're not large, mature ones. We are looking to retain all those larger perimeter ones that you see kind of on that threshold to the slope as you head down to the pool. So that was the goal. They happen to be in the middle of, what is a very limited buildable area. The other trees, we did have an extensive discussion during ASRB. We don't need to remove those. These are just suggested by the arborist, I think due to health, due to suppression in that corner of the lot. And there's actually more, we had a whole discussion at the hearing, actually outside the property along Woodside Road, he's recommending for removal, but that's not really our ability. That's not even our property. So that's another one we might dive in to see who has the jurisdiction on it. So in total, it's just those 3, and we're going to be very cautious in protecting the other trees on the lot. So that's kind of the directive on that one. To the lighting in the greenhouse. So as we are looking to use it, there's probably going to be proposed a couple pendants, probably downlit, no different than outdoor lighting. There will be lights. I have not dove into the details of that. It's obviously not going to be an uplit, glowing. It will have to conform to nighttime outdoor standards in Woodside. Beyond that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. This is a little unique one. Happy to answer anything related to the project or, the greenhouse specifically that's in front of you.
We will start with Chair Weaver.
I don't have any significant questions relating to your final comment about pendant lighting in the greenhouse. It would be nice if the owner's intent was to only utilize those lights at night while they were entertaining, or to have them on a timer so that they're not randomly running at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, which is sort of consistent with the dark skies philosophy in Woodside that seems to be widely ignored. So that would be the only point I would wish to make, and that there's not a lot of benefit to running the lights at 3 or 4 in the morning.
No, that makes sense. And it could be even just path lights walking through. We have not, I think, given a substantial attention to the indoor lighting piece of it. It's an unconditioned space, but we definitely understand the concern there.
That's the only question I had.
Yeah, just a comment regarding, so if the lights would be a downlight pendant light instead of side light, I don't even know if Woodside allows side lighting on the exterior of houses that project the light to the side?
Typically, light is downward facing and shielded. That's specifically required for exterior lighting. Something could be applied like that to this interior building, given that it's all glass.
I don't feel that the extra 70 or 80 square feet is going to increase the lighting in this situation, so that wouldn't be a concern for me.
Yeah, at a minimum, we're required to have lights at exterior doors and probably just the safety aspect.
This path through the greenhouse,
Mhm.
it's going to be through like the center, and then it's not necessarily just the greenhouse, they'll, I don't, I guess this is just from my understanding of aesthetics. It's not just going to be for plants, it's going to be for people walking through and looking at the plants. Is there going to be some kind of seating or multi-use for this greenhouse in different parts of the year?
There's no seating intended. I think I added an image on there where you could see raised beds and just a pathway to meander through. It's not big enough to have seating living
Very nice,
space.
unusual idea, yeah.
Thank you for the story polls. First and foremost, it was really helpful. It always is to be able to go out and see the site as you'd like it to be. My question is kind of a strange one. It might actually be better for staff or for both folks, but it sounds like with the greenhouse lighting, we're not exactly sure what that's going to be. And there's just a lot of trust in this town between the residents and architects and doing the right thing. But I guess my question is, like, as a planning commission, and if we approve this project, what assurances are there that are we able to add a condition that there only be downlights? Are we I maybe, again, I'm sorry to turn it over to you again, Sage and Sarah, but I'm just trying to be really thoughtful on, and I hate to introduce mistrust or the idea of mistrust into this hearing or this meeting, but I'm just not sure like what we're able to do in terms of conditions and how we enforce them.
Sure. I think with regards to timing of lighting, that's very difficult to be enforced. But with regards to the type of lighting, and especially this is actually a conditional use permit application. So it's, whether or not it's this owner or future owners, it just makes clear that the commission could put a condition of approval on the use permit to ensure that it is shielded and downlit lighting. Put any specific conditions regarding lighting could be built into the resolution, and that way it carries forward as part of the conditional use permit for this building.
Got it. Very helpful. Thank you. And again, I do apologize for,
I'd love to know. if
we
there were
approve a
greenhouse
project and then you
standards,
never
yeah.
know what happens, right? So,
I don't think we want light pollution in that courtyard either, but it would be good to know if there were any standards. We're happy to conform to them. I assume just.
and by the way, for the record,
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith and trust in the SRB that this was discussed and that they were very thoughtful. And so for me, the bias is always that if this is making it here, that there's been a discussion about it. But it does seem like the lighting ideas are a little bit unset, we'll say, or a little bit wiggly. That was the only question I had. And forgive me again for not asking it sooner.
Okay, my biggest question is with the siding. In Woodside, with the newest fire regulations, you're not even allowed to build anything that's not Class A rated within 6 feet of a structure. This is coated, at least the gym, in stained cedar siding. Cedar's flammable and more flammable with stain on it. It seems like a really bad idea to use that material in this day and age. What are the thoughts behind that, and what's the openness to go to stone?
Yeah, so Woodside is not, even though it's still Woodside fire jurisdiction, is not yet Portola Valley, where it's completely eliminated. So what we are able to do,
You cannot build a redwood fence within 6 feet of a structure in
you
Woodside.
can't even have wood siding in Portola and any structure.
Great.
Like it's off.
That's fantastic. We
But
should
There's no,
note to staff is let's please look at that.
what you're gonna find though is now we have newer products, and I'll just name one, Hune. It's a company, and they treat them, and the stains are amazing. So there is a way. It's more timely, more costly. So if and when, whatever the regulations are, we have means to meet it. We're just proposing that the garage and those front structures match the existing. It's kind of a carport you see right along Woodside. So it'd be a little more, more rustic, darker tones as seen from Woodside Road. And then we pivot to those more lighter stone ones as you get into the site. But yes, it will have to meet whatever standard it is, and it's a fast-moving item.
Is it Class A rated?
I don't believe we're completely regulated yet on the siding. I know.
It's not a question of regulation, it's a question of common sense.
Whatever building code and Woodside Fire require, we conform to. No different than the 5-foot defensible space, everything on there.
All right.
And it's going to be based on the submittal date. I mean,
And
that's
is the applicant, or sorry, not the applicant, is the owner open to considering less flammable sidings?
I think he's open to either one, but I'm saying wood is not a flammable. We have ability to make it non-flammable.
What's the product, please?
Hewn, you can look it
How
up.
do you spell it?
HEWN, that's just one of many.
Cool.
I think I gave them a shout out on here, not that we have a big audience, but I have one in Los Altos Hills on a hillside that's using that product. And then you're seeing exterior sprinklers, you're seeing the whole works come into play. So
And is that spec the Hyun, or is it standard cedar spec project?
we haven't got there.
Okay.
So at the time of this initial application, these codes did not exist. But at the time of building permit submittal, that's going to be the regulation point of building code.
They are Class A, incidentally.
That's fine. We'll make the assembly Class A. Yeah.
That's my only question.
Could I add one for Sage and Sarah? It was brought up at the original ASRB and we haven't adjusted it yet, but I believe that pool house does not have to pivot to an accessory structure. We can leave it as is.
Yeah, you can. You're allowed 3 ADUs and 1 JADU. So if you wanted to keep the existing ADU pool house, you could keep it as.
Yeah,
as
so
an
when we
ADU.
eventually get to permit, that pool house is not going to be modified.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No.
All right, we will move then to commissioner discussion. Thank you, Adam. And would anyone like to kick off?
Is it public comment first?
Oh, sorry. There's public comment. I don't think we have anyone, but yes, public
For
comment.
the thousands in attendance?
We still don't have anyone online.
Okay, in that case, we will move on to commissioner discussion.
Sure, I'll go first. I'm supportive of the project overall. I do share Vice Chair our comments about the fire rating, the materials. And again, I think that whatever the town building code is at the moment is what's going to basically take care of that. I also shared some of the concerns about trees, but again, as I said earlier, I'm really deferential to the ASRB on things like that. And so I would be inclined, for me, removing a couple of significant trees is okay, given how much other coverage is on site. And it was, again, great to be able to see the property and understand it. As for the greenhouse, again, I don't have any problem with the size, but I do think it's worth us discussing some kind of, it is a conditional use permit, some kind of a condition on lighting, just to make sure there's a little more teeth. And so I'm wide open to what that could be, and not a builder, not an architect. So it's not something that I can say you need 6 feet and only this, but I would be open to that discussion if my fellow commissioners think it's appropriate. That's all I have.
So I would second all those comments. Regarding the lighting, if the lighting could just be conforming to whatever Woodside regulations are for exterior lighting, that would be fine with me. That includes duration of lights during the night and stuff like that. If that's allowed to be on all night, then of course I would want them to be down lights and a certain intensity that's allowable also. I'm also in favor of the project, passing it, and the increased size for an environmental friendly structure like this, which is essentially see-through and it's quite a nice design. I have no problem with it, with the extra, variance that's required for the 70 square feet. That's essentially it for me.
Chair Weaver?
I would agree with Commissioner Guerco's suggestion that if we tweak anything, that's simply tweaking the requirements for the lighting within the greenhouse to conform to the requirements for exterior lighting in Woodside in general. I think that would take care of that. The issue of fire resistance and spacing and whatnot, things are, I ended up doing some research on this subject. The state building code and as a result, the fire district building codes on this vary based on the perceived fire severity on the property. And where this property is located is not in as high a risk area as, say, the Glens or the Western Hills or up at the northern edge of town. So it seems a bit egregious to ask the applicant to do more than is required by the existing fire district and state and local building codes. As Vice Chair Gar suggested, if we wanted to push as a separate item to town council a desire to move in the direction of being more rigorous throughout the town of Woodside, I would be supportive of that. But in the context of this particular application, I am supportive of making the findings, granting the variance for the expanded size, the greenhouse as proposed, and approving the project as is. Other than a tweak on the lighting requirements for the greenhouse.
All right, thank you. My thoughts are as follows. So overall supportive of the project, excuse me. I also agree on the lighting and kind of having a condition that it conforms to outdoor lights, which are typically downlights and shielded. Makes a lot of sense to me. On the question of the siding, I think a couple things. First, I am completely in alignment with Chair Weaver's recommendation that we take a look at the flammability materials. Like, it personally very much irritates me every time I see a shake roof in this town. Like, it's just stupid. Like, it's just, to be blunt, like, one, we should not have shake roofs in this town. As far as fire safety goes and those maps, respectfully, I've looked at them and like, they don't make sense. Sometimes, like, I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, right? But like, you get a good wind in this town, it's all going up, right? And I think it's responsible of us to give our first responders the best possible chance. And when embers are going to fly and hit flammable materials, that's not giving them the best chance. It's not fair to our residents, not fair to the firefighters. Especially when, as Adam pointed out, we do have Class A materials that are going to still be consistent with the rural character. Right? We're not saying like all cementitious or all stone. We're saying with technology it can be better. I definitely hear the point on not requiring it, given that it goes beyond. At the same time, I mean, what is it? Like, design reviews are subjective as well, right? And we do have some discretion. It would be my strong recommendation that we require it to be Class A. I mean, the fact that literally you cannot build a redwood fence within 6 feet of a structure in this town. So like, how has the fire district been proactive here? But then we will approve a structure that in and of itself is flammable. Makes no sense, right? Like, you have to have metal. So what we're saying is you could have metal or Class A fence tie into a flammable structure, which is like, it defies logic. So from that perspective, I would like to, formally propose that to town council to look at. I would also put it as a condition on this project to put Class A, just given the recommendation I think makes sense. And I would also think if I were the homeowner, it would be what I would want to do. Those are my thoughts. So should we, so I guess we sort of talked through. So it sounds like, I think we have consensus on, or Sage, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, so at this point, if there's no further discussion, you can make a motion. And there's recommended conditions in the staff report, and you could add to those conditions. From what I heard, it sounded, I think, unanimous from all the commissioners to add a condition to require any of the interior lighting for the greenhouse to meet the current zoning code standards for exterior lighting, which requires
That's
to be
correct.
shielded and downlit. So we
Yes.
can add that into 2 locations. We're going to add it into the conditions that prior to issuance of a building permit, that the plans identify that. Then we're also going to have a standalone condition at the end, which is basically going to be an operational condition for the conditional use permit that existing and any future lighting needs to meet that standard. So maybe someone wants to change the lighting in the future, they'll still need to meet that standard. And so that will be built into the conditional use permit for that. And then the last comment I heard was about requiring Class A material and assembly for the exterior. And that would be up to the commission if they wanted to add a condition for that. And that would be something that would be built into prior to issuance of a building permit if you want to add that condition.
Okay, so maybe we can discuss that one. I think I've my perspective.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I really do. But I have to say in this case, I think I agree with Chair Weaver that if they're living up to the present standards as crazy as they are, or as much as we might disagree with them, I think it's a little bit, I wouldn't use the word egregious. I would use the word punitive. I would say it's going one step too far for me, given that they're in compliance, as I understand it, with the present rules. But I do also support what you're saying, Matt, about perhaps looking at that townwide. I'm uncomfortable singling out a specific application as our test case.
I don't know enough about the designations as far as fire being fireproof for a certain amount of time. I guess that's the whole point of Class A. It's not going to burn for I don't know what the time frame is. So I am actually going to abstain from making a decision on agreeing or not agreeing with your recommendation in this situation.
So I believe about voted. I think we need to look at this though as well. Look, the fire inspections these days have teeth, right? They will come and you cannot have combustible materials within the 0 zone or whatever it's called of 5 feet. You have to have non-combustible gravel for that matter. So putting myself presumptuously in the shoes of an inspector, I would come and I would shut it down, right? I would not let it get built that way because it's completely against the spirit of what the Woodside Fire Protection District is trying to achieve in this town. So like personally, I have no problem asserting it. Like in the context of a project like this, it has to be a tiny rounding error. Right? It's the right thing to do. We talk a lot about fire safety. It's clear that the town code hasn't caught up with what the right thing to do is. So I'm perfectly comfortable going with a recommendation or requirement to do it. I also understand I'm outvoted. That said, I would caution the applicant that I don't know this, but to go look at the fire protection district, because the last thing you want to do is install, flammable siding, then rip it all off and put something else in.
So yeah, I would echo your comments there, especially for the applicant to make sure they talk to the fire district, as they work through the building permit process, that there are no surprises. They make sure that everything is being reviewed by the fire district. If it is approved, that is in fact able to be installed. And also I want to note that it's actually bubbling more to the top of my agenda and I've already briefly talked to the fire marshal about this, is that planning staff is going to meet with the fire marshal to go over what their requirements are and to see where we need to amend our zoning code. So it could have to do with things like fencing, you know, it has to do with things about combustible materials within a certain distance of the resident or buildings. And, you know, whereas fire districts say maybe, hey, you have to put gravel down, then we say, well, it counts towards paved area. So that starts to bite into people's allowable paved area. And so what we've already thought of is, okay, well, let's change our zoning code and we can carve out some exemptions for those kinds of things. And this can be one of those things that could be discussed at that time as well. And we'd bring that amendment to the planning commission and then to the town council.
Does Chair Weaver have any comments? I want to make sure that,
Let's see, I would just reiterate that I think I'm in your camp, well, Commissioner Apfel, in that I'm 100% supportive of going to the town and trying to get our building code upgraded so that we're going beyond the state requirements. I am, in the context of this particular applicant, I'm unwilling to single them out. They are certainly welcome to go beyond the requirements, but it seems unfair to make it a condition of approval for them.
So I think we have
Did-
two that are
And-
not in favor. That said, the applicant has chosen to ask for an exemption, which makes. it more
Has
likely
he?
What?
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, he has chosen
to,
for an exemption as far as.
oh, no, excuse me, not an exemption. What are we?
This is
The
a,
variance, excuse me.
it's a
Right.
conditional use permit
Condition-
for the
Right,
greenhouse.
Which,
Yeah.
right.
Well, but he,
250, there's no review it would go through. I think this is why we're here as people, is to also interpret things that make sense.
But-
Look, I think we can do a motion to approve. I need someone to do that, but I do want to maybe talk a little bit about those other pieces. Just some experience on, fence building. People don't know about this 6-foot thing, right? It's in the regulations. It's little known. There's little guidance.
just a few months ago, right?
What's that?
Came in just a few months ago.
I think about a year plus or minus. Yeah, it's recent, but there's little guidance right now. So, we're looking at,
This is for new construction or remodels? Both. Not
well,
existing.
they'll come in retroactively. There's inspections of the properties happening where they say, this is the landscaping that should be removed, this piece of fence should be removed, et cetera. And anytime within 6 foot of a structure. So I think we can also help residents of the town in terms of finding materials. There's certain woods, as Adam pointed out, there's certain Class A treated materials. And I was doing my own research and initially thinking I have to build an aluminum fence and things like that. So I think we can be a little bit more sort of helpful in counseling folks on how to find the right materials and still be consistent with the general plan.
Just one comment, just to potentially alleviate maybe your concern. So your name's Ben? Adam, I'm sorry, Adam. So you pledged that whatever material you use would be a Class A for that part of the house?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
would help to clarify.
Yeah. So right now, Woodside Fire is all about the site, the access, what they can prevent, tree removal, fencing, those items. Building code, WUI, what you're probably familiar with, is the regulation on the building health safety. And it has gotten really strict in the last year. I can tell you just the project that went through, exposed rafter tails, out. Unless they're wrapped, unless they're non-combustible. So it has caught up. This will be required to meet those requirements. So it's not cedar like you see driving down Kenyatta right now. That's no longer allowed. So this will need to be a treated wood, like I gave you, or it's gonna have to be a non-combustible, whether we move to stone or you're gonna move to, a composite material. So the trick is, how are we gonna get that, rustic stained wood everyone likes and the zoning code, pushes for, and how it's gonna meet. And right now it is, those types of companies are gonna be the ones out in front doing it. But I think you're gonna see the changes have already happened. The projects just haven't been built. They're the ones being built right now, being approved, and this is gonna be one of them. So,
Sorry, does
So
that
the
mean it'll
siding-
probably be?
no, it'll
One of
have
the-
to. The
it-
siding on this garage and the gym will
Yeah.
meet what you're wanting.
Oh, okay.
It's not a
Great.
question. It's not even a choice.
Okay, that's great. Because of the fire protection district.
No, because of building code. Woodside Fire doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
regulate the structures. They regulate the site. They can, I believe you can make a fire committee like Portola Valley did and go above and beyond, but Woodside's not there yet. But building code gets you what you
Yeah.
want.
And you're referring to Woodside Building Code or
What- Woods-
overall?
Woodside Building Code?
The state
no,
building.
State,
State, yeah, yeah.
state, not,
Okay.
Woodside doesn't have a building code.
Okay, well then I can stop soapboxing on fires.
Yeah, no, it's very valid, but.
I second that.
It is-
That doesn't make you wrong, Matt.
Yes. I know.
Exactly.
But it does mean I don't need to stay on the soapbox any longer.
I'll show you off.
Both things can be true.
That's right.
All right, well, in the interest of everybody's time, would anyone like to make a motion, including the amendments we discussed?
So moved.
Second,
Chair Weaver,
yes.
Vice Chair Gar,
Yes.
Commissioner Apfel,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gonerko.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Appreciate the time with us. Sage, are there other staff reports? direct-
No, there's a director's report in the agenda packet. Just the one thing I'll note there, the ASRB was asking for this information, but it's actually been really helpful for us in that just to look at where we are with our RENA numbers and our overall number of housing units that are built. And so in the director's report now, there's another new section of it that identifies what we've done in the past years through this housing cycle and where we are up to date for this year. So since it's an August director's report, we have run the numbers from January through the end of August. We've issued 20 permits for ADUs so far and 10 for single-family dwellings. So that is just about average or a little above average than other years. And so hopefully, we'll get to at least 25 ADUs by the end of the year and more single-family dwellings. So from a number standpoint, we're doing pretty well.
Question on that, is there movement or any news on the multifamily sites?
No, it's something staff, it's just we're working on, it's called the Surplus Lands Act, that anytime that a local jurisdiction is going to dispose of land, that it has to go through a certain process, which offers to affordable housing developers. And so there's certain steps we're going through the town attorney's office right now and identifying those steps. And so that is going to be the first step, maybe by the end of the year, or at least the early part of next year, at least to start getting that step done. And then we can start to look at RFQs for other potential partners to look at developing those sites. So we're still kind of the early stages, but we are moving forward.
Well, thank you. Any other questions for staff or closing thoughts? All right, then we will go ahead and adjourn for tonight. Thank you, folks.